Hi, my name is Isabella Levering, and this is my website on Gynandromorphism. So on my homepage, I just go ahead and introduce the topic of Gynandromorphism and also sexual dimorphism, since they go hand in hand. And to reflect the statement at the top, I also include this image of the mocker swallowtail, just so readers can go ahead and get an introduction to what gynandromorphs look like, and also see that this gynandromorph in the middle has both coloration pattern but also wing shape of both male and female counterparts in its species, which I thought was really cool. So I go into some quick facts about gynandromorphs just to also kind of get the information flowing. I didn't know that the first gynandromorph was documented in 1896. I thought that was pretty cool. And also that they're extremely rare to spot in the wild. I'm a wildlife major and I've been birding so many times and I've never seen a gynandromorph, so it checks out. Then I just go into how it happens. I'll talk a little bit about the genetic mosaicism and get more into that in the tissue and genetics portion. And then I finish out my home page with the rose-breasted grosbeak, which I thought was super cool because it has most of the coloration and pattern of the female, especially on the chest, but has the little bit of the rose breast and rose wing of the male. So I thought that was interesting to add. Let me go into signs and symptoms, and I talk about the two main displays, and I like these pictures in particular because they show exactly what like bilateral means when it's split down the middle, and mosaic is kind of just like pieced together. So I thought that was interesting to add. And then since it's not really a diagnosable condition, I talked about how you can kind of just identify them in the wild, and mainly that's external morphology, sexual, like secondary sex traits, but also sometimes behavioral observations and internal examination if you're going to be doing research for it. Then I include just a little image carousel so the readers can get just a bigger idea on how these manifest in different species. So then I go into the tissue portion, and on this page I'm talking mainly about birds, just because if I went into a broader topic of all the individuals that experience gynandromorphism, it would get too complicated and just too confusing. So I narrowed it down to just one species on this. And I talked about the CP, which is the cloacal protuberance on birds, because that's what birds are usually sexed by when you ban them, and what that means in gynandromorphic individuals as well, especially with the coloration and pattern. That's an extremely important part of the tissues that are affected. Like not only the gonadal structures are, but also like the plumage. So then I go into the genetics portion on the second page and introduce this image, which I thought was really important to add, because most gynandromorphic studies show that the gynandromorphic individual will have male characteristics here, female characteristics here, but a lot of the time they don't show like intermediate data, which I thought this study was really interesting because the DNA within the gynandromorphic individual was intermediate between male and female, which also I talk about later, but the syrinx size was as well, which I thought was pretty cool. And then I go in to add just a little bit about non-disjunction and chromosome loss, because that's essentially how it happens in most species. This, again, is usually for birds because I didn't want to make it too complicated and add all the other possibilities, but I did touch on that. I also include some environmental causes just because some more recent data has shown that temperatures can also affect the frequency of gynandromorphic individuals. And then I also touch on the SRY gene, just because that is a crucial male sexual development gene and what that can mean for gynandromorphs. On my treatment page, I thought it was important to add that it's not typically treatable because it's not found in humans or mammals, so it's not at the forefront of research for treatment, and also the fact that it has no known health effects, so it typically doesn't need to be treated. I think the only effect that it would have is if a moth were gynandromorphic and it affected its ability to blend in, but that's not really affecting the individual's health per se. I did touch on some budding possibilities with that temperature study and environmental factors, but other than that, not too much to be done with treatment. Then in the research section, I touch on the main types of research that I found when I was also researching this subject, and include examples of that, what that means, or just different ways it can be studied. And then I go into my zebrafinch study and include a lot of the images that I thought were most interesting, including the brain sections, which I thought was pretty cool because it showed both male and female brain sections, as well as the gonad structures, showed both male and female gonad structures. But the song spectrogram of the gynandromorph showed male characteristics. So I thought these were interesting to add, and my last